More interesting though, commercial crime, cash in transit heists, as well as bank robberies are also down by quite a huge amount. Small details around that we're told by those working inside of various think tanks around crime and security is that there is a decrease in commercial crime, cash in transit heists and bank robberies because technology now makes it more and more difficult for these kinds of crimes to be pulled off. And also there's the big influence of more and more businesses bringing in their own private security that they're spending a lot of money on because they cannot depend on ordinary South African police force units to protect them from heists and commercial crime. But let's look at the increases, which unfortunately is what most people, most South Africans and most of the media will be focusing on. The big one is murder. Many people saying that that is the main indicator of where a society is at in terms of peace and security and in terms of crime, because it's a number that can be compared internationally. Now, South Africa this year is up 5% from a reportage from 2013 and 2014. That's looking at a figure of about 49 people per day being murdered.
The government insists it has no more money. In fact, before President Uhuru Kenyatta left for the United Nations General Assembly in New York, he held a press conference where he said that the government was not going to honor that obligation because it simply didn't have any more money to pay the teachers. He said that the government was paying more than 50% of its, of the revenue it was collecting to pay the public for the public wage sector, and he said that was unsustainable. He said that if that was to happen, that is, if the government was to go ahead and pay the teachers the increase which was demanded by the court, then the government was left with no option but to raise taxes. And he said that the value-added tax will be raised from the current 16% to 22%.
Yesterday afternoon, after they spent the day in court, the whole day, and they spent 3 nights in police custody. The police says these 3 journalists who work for the state-owned newspaper, they had exposed police officers saying that they were involved in poaching in Zimbabwe. That's why there's a rampage. There's a higher number of elephants being killed in Zimbabwe. They were saying police were involved, so that's why they were arrested. What happened is that the police, instead of investigating the matter to find out if there are senior police officers involved in poaching, the police went ahead and arrested the journalists. They were demanding the sources of the story from the journalists, but as you know, it was unethical for journalists to reveal their sources. So the journalists are adamant that they were not going to release the names of their sources. That's why they were arrested, and the police says they will continue investigating the journalists. And the journalists right now, as I'm speaking to you, they are now out on bail, $100 bail.
No, the season was crazy, not just since I arrived. I think since they played the Champions League final, the season has been up and down and really, really hard. But we managed in this group of matches to get results.
Hello and welcome to Anna's British English Elocution Online. My name is Anna and I am going to be your teacher. This channel is all about clear and confident communication skills with a focus on the standard British English accent. So who's going to benefit? Well, if you're an English language learner, then you'll benefit. If you are a native English speaker with a strong regional accent that you would like to soften, then you will benefit. Or if you are a mumbler or someone who doesn't communicate confidently or clearly, perhaps even you have a lisp, then you will benefit. I was born in the north of England and brought up with a strong Lancashire accent. But training to be an actress, I decided that I wanted to have a standard British English sound. So I spent a few years whilst at university training my voice and training my accent, and now I sound like this. However, before, my accent sounded like this. Hiya, my name's Anna and I was born in Southport and I was brought up in Manchester where I went to college. And then I got into university in Birmingham, so I slowly moved down the country. And then eventually I got into another university to do a postgrad in London. So eventually in my mid-20s, I moved to London, which was a big shock to the system. And by the time I got to London, I had lost this Lancashire accent.
Shovel. Trevor, shovel. Trevor, shovel, 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 Trevor, shovel, shovel, Trevor, shovel, shovel. And now my friend who was irritated, he just leans over me and he's like, "Hey, Papa, get Trevor." He's like, "Oh, Trevor, why you don't talk properly?" And then I understood. I finally understood what white people have been trying to do. I see, you're trying to communicate more effectively. You're trying to engage somebody, but understand this. When speaking to somebody in an accent, the number one rule to understand is an accent is not a measurement of intelligence, right? An accent is just somebody speaking your language with the rules of theirs. That's all an accent is. So don't speak down to them. Don't patronize them. Speak to them the way you would to yourself. Just try and learn their accent. That's all it is. It's just another accent. Yeah. And I learn them. I spend all my time learning accents. I try, I love it. I learn in restaurants. That's a safe place to start. You know, you learn, you read off the menu, you try and pronounce the words correctly. I was inspired by French restaurants, funny enough. Whenever I'd go to a French restaurant, I was always fascinated by the fact that people would order food in a French accent. I never understood why. Because they don't do it in any other restaurants. Only in French restaurants do people walk in and then change their accent when they order. They come in talking normally. Yeah, you know, it's a wonderful thing. You're really going to enjoy it. It's so beautiful. Yeah, stunning. You have to have. Oh, the dessert. Oh, good evening. How are you, sir? Yes, we'll have a bottle of water for the table, please. And let's start off with, could we get the Sauvignon Blanc, please? Yes, and you know, we definitely for mains going to have the filet mignon. And for dessert, we're going to go with the crème brûlée. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, you're going to love it. Like, why are you doing that? I never understood. I was like, why? Because it's not like the French are going to return the favor. There's no French people sitting in our restaurants in South Africa looking at the menu like, so for the table, we can order some starter portion. We share something? No? Okay. Could we please have one serving of the boerewors?